Right now, somewhere in a data center, an algorithm knows something about you. It knows what day it is. It knows how many seats are left on the flight you're looking at. It knows what every competitor is charging for the same route, down to the minute. It knows that flights like this one, on days like today, tend to fill up, and it knows, statistically, how desperate someone searching right now probably is. And, based on all of that, it has calculated a number. Not the cost of flying you, not the price of fuel, or the pilot's salary, or your share of the aircraft. The number it has calculated is much simpler and much colder. It is the maximum amount of money it believes you will pay. Tonight, we're going hunting for that ghost. We'll trace it back to a boardroom in 1978. Dismantle the fare buckets it hides inside. Expose the psychological tricks it plays on you. And meet the people who fought back, including one website that airlines hated so much, they dragged it into a Texas courtroom. Buckle up, tray tables stowed. Let's begin. To understand airline pricing, you first have to understand a brutal piece of economics. A seat on an airplane is one of the most perishable products ever sold. A tin of beans can sit on a shelf for 2 years. A seat on Flight 447 to Chicago expires at the exact moment the cabin doors close. If it's empty at pushback, its value drops instantly and permanently to zero. It cannot be warehoused. It cannot be discounted tomorrow. It's gone. Meanwhile, the cost of flying that empty seat is almost identical to the cost of flying a full one. The plane burns the fuel either way. The crew gets paid either way. Industry analysts generally reckon airlines need to fill more than 80% of their seats just to stay profitable. So every airline faces the same maddening puzzle. Sell seats too cheaply, and the plane is full of bargain hunters who would have paid more. Price them too high, and you fly a museum of empty upholstery across the Atlantic. The perfect outcome, the fantasy, is to charge every single passenger the absolute maximum they personally would tolerate. For most of aviation history, that was impossible. Then came 1978, and a man named Bob Crandall. Before 1978, U.S. airfares were set by a government agency, the Civil Aeronautics Board. Flying was expensive, glamorous, and boring to price. Then, the Airline Deregulation Act tore the rulebook up. Suddenly, airlines could charge whatever they wanted, and low-cost upstarts flooded in. The most famous was People Express, whose fares undercut the legacy carriers by anywhere from 30 to 80%. Passengers literally paid for tickets on board, like a bus. American Airlines, with its unionized workforce and legacy costs, could not match those prices across the board. Matching them would be suicide. Ignoring them would be slower suicide. Enter Robert Crandall, America's famously ferocious executive, a man once described as the toughest boss in the industry. Crandall's insight was deceptively simple. Don't sell one product at one price. Sell the same seat as 2 different products. American already knew its business travelers intimately. They book late. They fly on the company's money. They want to be home by Friday night. Above all, they are not price sensitive. Leisure travelers are the opposite: flexible, early booking, and allergic to high fares. So, Crandall built a fence between them. The Super Saver fare, deeply discounted, but only if you booked weeks in advance and stayed over a Saturday night. Those restrictions had nothing to do with the cost of flying you. They were purely artificial, designed so that business travelers would refuse to accept them and keep paying full price, while price-sensitive holidaymakers filled seats that would otherwise have flown empty. He called the discipline yield management and later declared it the single most important technical development in transportation since deregulation. It has been estimated to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year to American alone, and across the industry, billions. People Express, incidentally, was crushed. It collapsed within a decade. The algorithm had drawn first blood. Here's the machinery Crandall's idea evolved into, and it's still running underneath almost every ticket you've ever bought. Picture the economy cabin of your next flight. Every seat looks identical. But in the airline's inventory system, that cabin is sliced into invisible layers called fare buckets. Historically, somewhere between 10 and 26 booking classes, each labeled with a letter, each carrying a different price and different restrictions. The letters mean nothing to you. Y, B, M, H, K, Q, to the airline, they are everything. The buckets are nested. The cheapest bucket might hold, say, 8 seats. When those 8 sell, or when the system decides demand is stronger than forecast, that bucket slams shut, and the next price tier opens. Same cabin, same legroom, same terrible sandwich. Suddenly, $100 more expensive. This is why the price jumped between Tuesday and Thursday. Nobody raised the fare. You simply watched a bucket die. And deciding when to open and close those buckets is no longer a human job. Modern revenue management platforms, systems like PROS, Sabre, and Amadeus, recalculate fares continuously, digesting competitor prices, historical booking curves, demand forecasts, and the live pace of sales. Some of these engines can compute millions of price points every minute. Newer AI systems go further still, ingesting weather forecasts, local events, and economic indicators. Some even use deep learning models to predict how competitors will respond before they've responded. The industry's newest frontier abandons buckets altogether. It's called continuous pricing. Instead of a ladder with fixed rungs, the algorithm generates a bespoke price for each individual shopping request, in real time from a near infinite continuum. No fixed fares at all. Just a fresh calculation every time you click search. The ghost, in other words, no longer lives in a filing cabinet of fares. It lives in the moment of your search. But the algorithm doesn't just calculate prices, it calculates you. Only 3 seats left at this price. Notice the wording. Not 3 seats left on the plane, 3 seats left at this price. It's usually technically true. 3 seats left in that fare bucket. But it's engineered to feel like a fire alarm. Scarcity triggers loss aversion, the well-documented finding that humans fear losing a deal roughly twice as intensely as they enjoy gaining one. The countdown clocks, the price checked 4 minutes ago flags. The ominous prices are rising for these dates. All of it converts deliberation into panic and panic into a booking. Then there's the pricing itself, which routinely defies common sense. Distance barely matters. A 300-mile hop between 2 poorly served cities can cost more than crossing an ocean, because pricing follows competition and passenger mix, not miles. Routes stuffed with business travelers are priced for expense accounts. Routes fighting off low-cost carriers are priced for survival. Now, the great urban legend. Does the airline watch your cookies and hike the price because you searched 5 times? Investigations into this have repeatedly come up empty. There's no solid evidence airlines personally raise fares on repeat searchers. And in places like Europe, doing so would collide with data protection law. What you're actually witnessing is the machine's ordinary metabolism. Buckets closing, competitors moving, demand forecasts updating, sometimes hundreds of fare changes per day on a single route. But here's the uncomfortable footnote. Personalization is absolutely creeping in through other doors. Prices and offers can already vary by booking channel and device, and the industry openly discusses tailoring bundles to individual customers. The line between dynamic and personal is getting blurrier every year. Every fortress breeds a siege, and the Fare Bucket Fortress has one famous crack in its wall: hidden city ticketing. The logic is delicious because prices follow competition rather than distance. A flight from, say, Dallas to New York via Charlotte can cost less than a flight from Dallas to Charlotte alone. So the hack: buy the cheap ticket to New York and simply walk out of the airport at the Charlotte layover. Never board the second leg. The algorithm priced the route. You exploited the price. This is called skiplagging. And in 2013, a young programmer named Akhtar Zaman built an entire search engine around it. Skiplagged, a site whose whole purpose was servicing these hidden city fares. The airlines were, to put it gently, displeased. American Airlines sued Skiplagged in 2023, branding its practices deceptive, a bait and switch, and complaining that the site told customers to conceal what they were doing. In October 2024, a federal jury in Fort Worth ordered Skiplagged to pay $9.4 million, $4.7 million for infringing American's copyrighted logo, and $4.7 million in disgorged revenue. American had asked for more than $94 million. But, and this is the twist, The court had already thrown out the claims attacking Hidden City ticketing itself before the jury ever heard them. The verdict was about logos, not loopholes. Skiplagging remains legal. Skiplagged is still operating, minus the American Airlines logo, and both sides are still fighting it out on appeal. That doesn't make the traveler safe, though. Skiplagging breaches airlines' conditions of carriage, and they retaliate. Canceled return tickets, confiscated frequent flyer miles. American even pulled a teenager off a flight and banned him for 3 years after catching him mid-skiplag. The airlines can't sue you for beating the algorithm, but they can absolutely make you regret it. So, can you win? Not really, but you can lose less. 1. Book against the curve. The cheapest buckets exist early and evaporate as departure approaches. When the system knows late bookers are desperate business travelers, very last-minute miracles are rare by design. 2. Be flexible, because flexibility is the fence. Every restriction, the midweek departure, the odd flight time, was built to separate people with money from people with time. Have time. Use it. 3. Ignore the panic theater. 2 seats left at this price means 2 seats in that bucket. It is a sales device, not a fire alarm. Breathe. 4. Compare across dates and nearby airports because you're not really comparing flights. You're comparing which fare buckets happen to be open in which competitive battlegrounds. And 5. Understand that the fare tracking sites, the price drop alerts, the deal newsletters, that's an entire counter-industry running algorithms against the airline's algorithms. The machines are now fighting each other. You're just the battlefield. The next time you board a plane, look down your row. Statistically, almost no 2 people on it paid the same price. Each fare was a separate calculation, a tiny, silent negotiation between one human and a machine that has run this exact negotiation billions of times before, and almost always wins. Bob Crandall's ghost is still flying. Every seat, every route, every second. It already knows what you'll pay. The only question is whether you do.